president and co-founder of AfricanAncestry.com. We are the pioneers of genetic ancestry tracing for Black people around the world. And our mission is to expand the way we view ourselves as Black people and the way we view Africa. And we do that by using your DNA to tell you where specifically your ancestry was found prior to transatlantic slave trade.
And what got you interested in doing exactly what you do right now?
So my path to AfricanAncestry.com was actually a business path. So my business partner is a geneticist. He's an African-American geneticist. He had the research, he had the database, and he had the desire to answer this question of who am I for Black people. But of course, as a genetics researcher, he didn't know how to commercialize his research. And so for me, it was the opportunity to use the skill set that I had developed in my corporate career to launch a new product that has never existed. This is not a new flavor of toothpaste or going from an 8-track to a tape player to a CD to an opera. It's never existed before. And so that was exciting for me as a business person. And then it was to create something for Black people, a group of people that I'm passionate about.
What makes yours different than others? Because there's so many different DNA, 23andMe, Ancestry.com. What makes yours different than the other ones?
There's several things that make us different. I just figured out this on this trip here to Ghana. We don't care about your DNA, we care about where you're from. They don't care about where you're from, they care about your DNA. So the way that manifests is we're the only company that doesn't sell, share, or research our customers' genetic information. We destroy all the DNA once a result is determined.
Oh, so everybody's sharing the DNA information.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So these tests are cheap. The other companies you've mentioned are $99, $49, $59, because they are profiting on the back end from the money that they get from the research, selling, and sharing of the genetic information of their customers.
I had no idea about that.
So they use the test kit as a way, the ancestry answers as a way to get you in.
Yes.
And then
they use the information for their benefit.
We don't do that.
Okay.
Our test doesn't cost $99. Our test costs $299. But the other way we're different is that we don't look at all of your DNA. We look at one branch of the family tree, and then we tell you where specifically, down to the people, the ethnic group, and the country.
Okay.
So while another company will say you're 75% sub-Saharan African, or 20% comes from this region and 20% comes from that region, we say you share ancestry with the Ewe people living in Ghana, or the Mandinka people living in Senegal, or it's not always African, the people who are Native American, Indigenous Americans, or people who are European or Middle Eastern. We tell you whatever that one branch is. And the reason that we're specific and they aren't, besides the fact that we care about Black people and they don't, is that we have the largest database of African lineages. So 23andMe compares your DNA to the DNA from 621 Africans. Ancestry.com compares your DNA to the DNA of 1,395 Africans. And those companies don't have all of West and Central Africa included in that comparison. AfricanAncestry.com compares your DNA to the DNA of over 33,000 Africans from 40 countries, not regions.
So yours is more accurate.
It's more specific.
Okay.
I would say more accurate too, because of its specificity.
Yeah. Now, what has been the most rewarding part of what you do since you started?
Oh my goodness. The most rewarding part, I don't know. It's hard to answer that question because it's rewarding when I get to tell somebody the answer to a question that they never thought they had. When I get to tell someone who's 14 or 44 or 94 where their mother's mother was before Jamaica or before New York or before Alabama.
Yeah.
There's something about that is extremely rewarding. But it's also very rewarding to have been in business for 16 years in the face of all these other companies that have, ridiculously more money, long dollars. You know, they're funded by private equity. Or did you know that the founder of 23andMe, when they started the company, was married to one of the founders of Google?
No, I had no idea.
They haven't turned a profit yet. We aren't married to the founders of anybody or divorced from the founders of anything. So every test that we sell has to pay for itself.
Okay.
So that's extremely rewarding to still be here despite all of the competition that has exploded in the past several years. So there's so much about this that's rewarding, to be able to come to a country like Ghana and stand on in the courtyard of the Cape Coast dungeon and contribute to the awakening of Black people.
Yeah.
That's extremely rewarding. So, I get rewarded every day, really, to be honest, and I'm very honored to be able to do this work. It's not easy work. It's not something that I even realized would be where it is today. But it's a call that I answered, and I'm very glad that I did.
I'm sure there's so many people who are glad you did as well. I'm going to share a sentiment that I had, but first, I want to know how you felt when you found out you were coming to Ghana. Is this your first time coming to Ghana, first of all?
No.
Okay, so it's not your first time.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first trip to Ghana was in February of 2018 with the Back to Africa Festival.
Oh, yes, Diallo's festival.
Exactly. And so I was part of that trip because several of the people on the trip had taken the test. So I was here to do the reveal for them.
Okay.
But I can tell you that this trip, so this is my 5th time here, and we revealed the ancestries of 70 people 2 days ago, or yesterday, whenever it was, this trip. And that is the largest number of people I've revealed
at the same time
on African soil. Now,
on African soil.
On African soil, and in that place, it was just so. The last, you didn't ask me this, but
go ahead.
When I was here in August of 2018, I did a reveal of 3 people right at the door of return, and I cried for 3 minutes before we got started. I mean, we had started, but we couldn't really start because I was just standing there crying. I couldn't talk, and in my mind I kept saying, "Gina, stop crying. Gina, stop crying." And I couldn't stop crying, and then they're looking at me like, "We've been waiting for days. What is the answer?" And I literally couldn't stop crying. And so I feared that would happen to me again this trip.
Yeah.
And I was ready for that, but I only just cried a little bit. And instead I was able to have a lot more fun with it, in the sense of I felt the ancestors telling me that this is good. And they were telling me that then too, but I was just getting it that time.
Yeah.
So at that moment in August, it was like, whoa. But this time I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this for y'all.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. Whew, powerful. I need to put this on myself now because I need to have myself in here so that I can share. I don't even know if I'm
Yeah,
am I framed?
I'll hold it because your hand is covering.
Is my hand covered?
Okay, now you're good.
Okay, so I'm good.
Okay.
You can get in the frame.
Okay.
So long arms are good for something. I was born here in Ghana, but I was raised in Canada. We left here when I was 2 years old. So I grew up in Canada, and I grew up 15 minutes from the New York State border. So I had a lot of influence from being an African kid in Canada, because my parents always tried to instill the African culture in us. And then I had friends who were descendants of the people from the Underground Railroad living in Canada. And then there was Caribbeans, and then my friends in the States. So I had quite a mix of people. Now, I always had my mom, she would order DVDs from PBS about the civil rights movement and all that stuff. So I always had an understanding of what the African American experience is from a lot of my close friends there and the things that I watch. One of the things that I love about the African American community is the togetherness, and there's a connectivity. The gala with your group.
Oh, with the
Jamestown. When I was sitting in that room, I thought to myself, this is just amazing. And I thought, wow, being a Black person is just, it's hard to describe, but it was like, we have Africans in here, we have some people who have Caribbean descent in here, we have people from the African American community in here, and everybody was connecting like we're family. Like we were family, like we haven't met people before, but we're all there, we're all having a good time. We listened to the president give his speech, Diallo spoke, you spoke as well, and it was like, I had this emotion in me, like, wow, this is amazing. I sent a voice note to some of my friends about the experience and how it felt, and I was like, I can't believe I had to come back to Ghana to experience this unity of Black people from everywhere.
It's just not beneficial.
And I thought, if we all came together more, imagine how much we could build.
I guess the identity that people are looking for.
It's phenomenal. Hey, Fred. Am I framing it okay? Fred, Mr. Photographer. It's perfect. Oh, wow. See, my arm is great. It's great having long arms. So I want to commend you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to wrap it up so you don't have to hold it for too long. I want to commend you for what you're doing. You're definitely making a difference in people's lives. You're giving them something to tell them where they're from. And there's a lot of companies that aren't hitting the mark exactly the way that you are. And I think it's phenomenal what you're doing. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much.
And keep doing what you do, and I hope that it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, so that we have a legacy of people who know where they're from. Yeah. Me too. So thank you so much. Thanks for chatting with me. Yeah. Gotta give him a hug. Sisterhood.